Welcome to the Shred the Spread podcast, episode 13, Recap Monday. If you're new, thanks for tuning in. If you're returning, as always, thanks for coming back. Per usual, I am your host, Jared, on Recap Monday. We are not joined by Dynel. That is only Thursday and Saturday. But man, did we have a week. I hope you guys, the past 2 weeks, have really been listening and storing in the back of your head of what we're saying. We're not asking you to take our picks by any means. We're hoping that we give you a valuable resource for picks, sides, reasons, injury news. We try to do our best to cover all of that. But we have been sharp. We have been sharp. Let's get right into it. My picks, I went 3 wins, 0 losses, 2 pushes on the official side. I pushed the Falcons and I pushed the Commanders. Well, let's just say that when the ball is just falling your way, it's falling your way. Because when I actually went to the sportsbook to place those bets, I didn't get the Commanders +3. I got the Commanders +4. And I didn't get the Falcons +3. I got the Falcons +3.5. So, per usual, I straight bet all of my picks. So, whatever I say my picks are, I straight bet those. I put a unit on each. Then I also take that entirety of my picks and I sprinkle about a quarter unit, half a unit sometimes, depending on the amount of picks, and I parlay them. So not only did I hit every single bet, I also hit the parlay. Now I also do a lean where I sprinkle my leans into round robins, and I actually hit every single lean from Thursday besides the Packers -4. So I had a tremendous week. So on the official picks, I went 3 wins, 2 pushes, so no losses, no harm, no foul. But on my physical tickets, I went 5-0. An incredible week for my picks. Dynel, pretty much same thing, except he went with the Colts instead of the under. So Dynel pushed on the Falcons +3. He nailed the Seahawks +2, just as I did. He also went Titans +12.5. We talked about it on Saturday. Super sharp. That would have been my next pick in if I didn't cap us at 5 total picks. But then he obviously the Colts +6. So just quick recap. I had Falcons +3, Commanders +3, Seahawks +2, Patriots and Colts under 40.5, and Bengals -7. Dino had Falcons +3, Seahawks +2, Titans +12.5, and the Colts +6. Our underdog round robin was an absolute heartbreaker. The Seahawks handled business as they usually do. I mean, the Falcons gave the game to the Chargers, and the Commanders simply handed the game to the Vikings. Falcons, Commanders, we should have swept our underdog round robin. That would have been a tremendous payout. All plus money plays as the round robin always is. The teaser, once again, goes down. Bengals smashed, Commanders smashed, but the Colts, which we were the one that we were talking about, was iffy about. We'll get to that next. Yeah, so we're so due to hit our teaser. Obviously, teasers are a teaser. They're called teaser for a reason. They just draw you in. They make you feel like Colts +12, especially in an under, which I liked. Just seemed like way too many points, but the Colts just couldn't move the damn ball. And that's actually the first game we're going to talk about. The Indianapolis Colts traveled to New England. Colts scored 3, Patriots scored 26. We know, we talk about it on the podcast all the time. We say Bill Belichick kills rookie quarterbacks. This was no ordinary case. Sam Ehlinger in this Colts offense put up 3 points. Ehlinger, 15 of 29 for 103 yards and an interception. Mac Jones was 20 of 30 with 147 yards and a touchdown. When I tell you that Ehlinger was the leading rusher for the Indianapolis Colts, you knew this had to have been ugly. Ehlinger had 39 rushing yards, Deion Jackson had 23 rushing yards, and Jordan Wilkins had 13 rushing yards. Basically, Ramondre Stevenson by himself had 60 rushing yards, which almost was more than the entirety of the Colts team combined. There wasn't, Ehlinger didn't have many passing yards, so we're not even going to touch into really, besides Pierce had 23 receiving yards and Pittman had 22. From the Patriots side, it was very distributed Johnny Smith, Hunter Henry, nothing tremendous. But Patriots, Nick Folk is automatic. I think he went 4 for 4 for field goals. So, he whooped the Colts by himself. He covered the 6-point spread by himself against the Colts. Ugly game for the Colts. The under smacked. I knew this game was going to have 0 points. Did I think the Colts were going to be this lopsided and it was going to be 26-3? Absolutely not. But you can't trust the Colts with Ellinger. That was my side for my pick. So Dino had Colts +6, but unfortunately goes down. I took the Patriots and Colts under 40.5, which was absolutely no sweat. So that takes us to the Packers and the Lions. Packers traveled to Detroit. Packers had 9. Lions had 15. An ugly game. If you tuned in Thursday, Arlene's, Dino, and I, we said Packers should win this game. So we were looking at the +4. Even on Tuesday, when I was looking at this game, I was like, is this a Lions home win? I just didn't see it. After I saw the Packers had a really solid second half against the Bills, who had a rough week this week, I ended up just staying with the under. So luckily I played the under in this one. It wasn't an official pick, but I did say this line seemed extremely high for two teams that are going to be in a dogfight. But regardless, Aaron Rodgers, 23 of 43 with 291 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions. 2 of those, which happened to be in the red zone. Aiden Hutchinson, I don't know if you guys saw that interception, but that was absolutely incredible. Even when the Packers were struggling to score, they were getting into the red zone consistently at first. And I was like, you know what? The Packers might come back and cover. I definitely think this still goes under. But the Packers were just doing Packer things this year. It's awful. Jared Goff, 14 of 26, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Not tremendous, but effective, I guess. Aaron Rodgers was, just like the Colts team, this must be a trend. If your quarterback, besides Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, if your quarterback is your leading rusher, especially when you have 2 solidified backs, you probably didn't have a great offensive game. Aaron Rodgers had 4 scrambles for 40 yards. A.J. Dillon, 11 carries for 34 yards. And Aaron Jones, 9 carries for 25 yards. There was no moving the ball on the ground versus the Lions. Jamal Williams, the ex-Packer by himself, chip on his shoulder, 24 rushes for 81 yards. Showing the Packers, hey, look what you missed out on. You gave me up just to come back and bite you in the ass when you needed a win most. From the receiving side, Allen Lazard, solid game, 4 receptions for 87 yards and a touchdown. DeGuara, 5 receptions for 41 yards for the Packers. Amon-Ra St. Brown was really the only solid receiver, 4 receptions for 55 yards. And even though DeAndre Swift came in the game for a couple snaps, we talked about it on Saturday. We didn't see much information that he would play. There were some very critical spots, like 3rd and long, where they wanted him in there, I guess, or go a couple punches on, a couple yards. DeAndre Swift actually did get a few snaps into the game. He did run a couple routes. He had 3 catches for 40 yards, and I believe it was 2nd and long or 3rd and long. He made a tremendous full speed turn to his side hands catch as a halfback in the red zone, which converted to first down, which ultimately led to the Lions getting in the end zone. So DeAndre Swift, not 100% healthy, came in and was effective. Another disappointing loss for the Packers. I have no idea what this team's identity is right now or what their route to success is. They didn't make any moves at the deadline. They're talking about attempting to get Odell Beckham, but the latest I think we've seen is Odell potentially going to the Cowboys. He's supposed to be medically cleared fully this week. Who knows what's going to go on? If I was a top receiver, the last place I want to go to right now is Green Bay. They are looking rough. The Chargers travel to Atlanta. They defeat the Atlanta Falcons 20-17. this was an absolute heartbreaker. The Atlanta Falcons single-handedly gave this game to the Chargers. Not only should the Atlanta Falcons have won outright, they should have covered 3 points. Um, Luckily, I got them at 3.5 when I actually placed the bet, so I actually got half point movement in my favor. Um, so the line or the Falcons pushed the 3 points, but they did cover that 3.5 that I had. I really thought Falcons were going to win this game. The public was all over the Chargers. The Chargers are bad. They are really running out there with a trash defense. They have a couple starters, but the majority of them are backups. Herbert was 30 of 43 with 245 passing yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Marcus Mariota, not the known passer, but 12 of 23 with 129 yards. Austin Eckler, if you watched the game, you thought Austin Eckler had a great game on the ground. He had so many things called back, so many explosive plays called back, where he said he was down, then he wasn't down. It was very confusing. But ultimately, looking at the stat sheet, he was only 14 of 47 with a rushing touchdown. Algier, solid day. Really got going in the second half. 10 rushes for 99 yards. And Cordell Patterson, welcome back. I know the Falcons were happy to have you. 13 carries for 44 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was the goal line specialist. Not really much receiving from the Falcons side, but Josh Palmer did have 8 catches for 106 yards, and DeAndre Carter 5 catches for 53 yards, respectively, on the Charger side. Yeah, Falcons should have won that game, man. Falcons should have won that game. Dino and I were both on Falcons +3 officially, but I'm not sure if he went to the same place I did. We are a little bit apart right now, so we do go to different sports books. So I will have to get up and see if he actually had Falcons +3 at his sports book. But I did get Falcons +3.5. So if you guys did tail that, I hope you were on the extra half point side. Vikings traveled to Washington to play the Commanders. They ultimately defeated them. Vikings 20, Commanders 17. Another push. Commanders +3 officially, but luckily I did get them at +3 or +4 when I placed the bet. So like I said, when the ball is rolling your way, it's rolling your way. Commanders gave them this game, man. Taylor Heinicke, a bad interception. Vikings marched right down, hit Dalvin Cook in the back of the end zone, toe tap, and then went down and kicked the game-winning field goal. Kirk Cousins, 22 of 40, 265 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Taylor Heinicke, 15 of 28, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Dalvin Cook, decent game on the ground, 17 carries for 47 yards. Robinson Jr., 13 carries for 44 yards, and Antonio Gibson had 11 carries for 36 yards. But this was the Justin Jefferson get it to the end zone finally since like week 1 or 2. 7 receptions for 115 yards. And TJ Hawkinson in his Vikings debut, 9 receptions for 70 yards. Curtis Samuel, 3 receptions for 65 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown catch was unbelievable. Taylor Heinicke threw in a triple coverage, quadruple if you include the referee that they knocked over. Curtis Samuel somehow came out with the ball, gave him the touchdown. Other than that catch, he was pretty quiet. So that was a huge play in the game. Terry McLaurin, 5 for 56. It's still getting solid production. I would like to see him get more volume and targets. 5 receptions is a little narrow. I think McLaurin needs to actually be somewhere. He needs to be that 8, 9, 10 receptions guy. Run a little bit more shorter routes for him. Let him use his speed. Get him out in space, man. Let him make some plays. But ultimately, Vikings beat the Commanders. So officially, that is a Commanders +3 push. Hopefully, you guys got a better number when you actually went to place the bet on Sunday or whenever you decide to place the bet. Another one I had to pick. Panthers 21, Bengals 42. I called it. The Bengals, when they come off an ugly loss, seem to play their best football. And this wasn't even Joe Burrow having to play fantastic. He did play well, but this was the Joe Mixon show. If you saw after the first quarter or first half, PJ Walker got benched for absolutely abysmal performance. He almost had more interceptions than completions. He had 3 completions out of 10 attempts, 9 yards and 2 interceptions. Baker Mayfield got the call to get his job back. You know, Panthers had to make up with their X on this one. Baker, 14 of 20, 155 yards and 2 touchdowns, made the game a lot more respectful than it really was, because ultimately the Bengals could have won this thing 42-0. Seriously. If Baker Mayfield did not come in and give this Panthers team a chance to look competitive, it would have gotten really ugly. Burrow, 22 of 28, 206 yards and a passing touchdown. But before we get in the mix in, T. Higgins was the leading receiver, 7 receptions for 60 yards. But like I said, this was all Joe Mixon. He had 4 receptions for 58 yards and a touchdown, but he had 22 carries, 153 yards, 4 touchdowns. So 5 total touchdowns for Joe Mixon. And I know season-long fantasy owners were waiting for this. He wasn't having the normal Joe Mixon year, but this right here just inflated his average to about where he should be, if not over. So Joe Mixon, have a day. Bengals cover that -7. Raiders 20, Jaguars 27. Dynell, I know you are happy. I talked him out of this one. A lot of people, the public, I believe, was on the Raiders, and I just did not see it. I know the Raiders just got shut out 2 weeks ago, but what does that mean that they're going to come out here and just stomp the living piss out of the Jaguars? That doesn't mean shit, okay? We're in the NFL. The Raiders lost to a bad Saints defense, 0 points. Then you think they're going to go to Jacksonville and handle business? I don't care if they hopped out like 14-0 or 17-0, whatever the hell it was. There was no way in hell you could bet that Raiders team. Just save your money. And what's crazy is I gave out the Jaguars plus 1.5 in elite, and I told everybody on Thursday, the books were wrong. The books were wrong. The Jaguars should not be home dogs. 2 bad teams, you take the home dog. I said it. I didn't bet it as much as I bet my main picks, but I did sprinkle it and I put it in my round robin for my leans. Dynell, you're welcome. You are welcome. You wanted to take the Raiders, and I'm so glad you didn't, because the Raiders stink. I don't care what kind of personnel they have on offense. They stink. Derek Carr, 21 of 36, 259 yards and 2 touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence, 25 completions, 31 attempts, 235 yards and a touchdown. Josh Jacobs, 17 of 67 on the ground. ETN, another back-to-back week of tremendous ground production. 28 carries, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. James Robinson being traded from the Jaguars to the Jets might have been the best thing possible for ETN's career. He is getting the spotlight. He is good out of the back. He's good on the line. The guy can do it all. Devontae Adams, after having an absolute ghost week on the stat sheet last week, 10 receptions, 146 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And on the Jaguar side, we are highlighted by Christian Kirk, 8 receptions, 76 yards, and a touchdown. Vegas was outscored by Jacksonville, 17-0. 17-0 in the second half. I don't know, man. Stay away from this Raiders team. They are awful. Let's go to a actually good team. A team that we keep going back and back and back, and it doesn't matter how many percentage of the bets they get. They're the better team, and Vegas has to start respecting them. Seahawks +2. Free as can be. Geno Smith, 26 of 34, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, an iffy interception, but hey, whatever. Kyler Murray, 25 of 35, 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kenneth Walker, 26 carries, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kyler Murray, 8 carries, 60 yards. James Conner, 7 carries for 45 yards. Noah Fant have a day, 5 receptions for 96 yards. And then Lockett and DK both got into the end zone. Lockett, 5 receptions for 67 yards, and DK, 5 receptions for 37 yards. Rondell Moore, 8 receptions for 69 yards. Ertz got into the touchdown with 40 receiving yards. And DeAndre Hopkins, a quiet day. That is the recipe for success for the Seattle defense. If they can shut down DeAndre Hopkins, force the other guys to make plays, they will win. DeAndre Hopkins, 4 receptions, 36 yards, and a touchdown. There's not much to say, man. Vegas has to start shifting this line in the Seahawks' favor, or they are going to keep getting killed. I hate that, they're due for a loss. They're due for a loss. They're playing great football. Geno Smith is being efficient as a passer. He is hitting his playmakers, and Kenneth Walker has come alive. He is a main back on almost every single team in this league. He is so aggressive off his lines and his reads. He doesn't hesitate. He trusts his instinct. He is an instinct running halfback. The guy is just he's playing tremendous. And when he has a game, the Seahawks generally win. Let's go to this game. As on Thursday, when we were doing preview Thursday, I said this is going to be an ugly, low-scoring game. Buccaneers, Tom Brady had his signature game-winning drive. Congratulations on Tom Brady for breaking 100,000 passing yards. That is insane. Insane. Not only did he break his record for passing yards, they did beat the Rams. Matthew Stafford was 13 of 27 with 165 yards and a touchdown. Tom Brady, 36 for 58. 58 throwing attempts. 280 yards and a touchdown. Darrell Henderson, 12 rushing attempts for 56 yards. There was almost zero rushing production from the Bucs running backs. 50, I believe it was under 50 yards for the entirety of their running back personnel. Cooper Kupp doing what Cooper Kupp does, the only offensive piece for the Rams. 8 receptions, 127 yards, and a touchdown. Who would have thought the 2 leading receivers for the Buccaneers would be Cade Otton with 5 for 68 and Scotty Miller, 7 receptions for 53 yards. Cade Otton also had that touchdown in that game-winning drive. This game went under. I said it was going to go under. I actually placed this under in my round robin for my leans. What can you say, man? These teams still stink. You had a battle of the stinkiest teams, and the Rams are just super stinky. I think the spread was 3 points, so if you went to a side, you pushed. But for everybody who took this over on this game, let's figure it the fuck out because you're taking 2 teams that are struggling to get first downs in an over. Absolutely not. Buccaneers win. Congrats to Tom Brady, over 100,000 passing yards. Buccaneers and Rams go under. Let's go to the Sunday night game. Titans and Chiefs. I don't think a lot of people expected this to be this sweaty of a match. Titans 17, Chiefs 20. Malik Willis, 5 for 16. 16 passing attempts for 80 yards. 2 completely different quarterbacks between he and Mahomes. Let's just say Mahomes almost had as many attempts as Malik Willis had passing yards. Patrick Mahomes was 43 of 68. 446 yards and only 1 passing touchdown to show for it. Unbelievable. Derrick Henry, 17 carries for 115 yards and 2 touchdowns. Malik Willis, the second leading rusher, 8 carries for 40 yards. Mahomes, the leading rusher for the Kansas City Chiefs with 6 carries for 63 yards. And the Kansas City running back personnel, McKinnon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, drawing a blank on the third guy, Pacheco, 14 total rushing yards. Unbelievable. Receiving side for the Chiefs, so many people involved. Kelsey, 10 receptions for 106 yards. Juju Smith-Schuster, 10 receptions for 88 yards. Mecole Hardman, 6 receptions for 79 yards. Noah Gray, 3 receptions for 45 yards. And Jerick McKinnon, 6 receptions for 40 yards. This game wasn't pretty. Titans cover. That was one of Donnell's pick. He had the Titans plus 12.5, I believe. Yep. Donnell had Titans plus 12.5. Yeah, we both said Patrick Mahomes, big spots, generally doesn't cover these spreads. Mike Vrabel, one of the best dog teams when it comes to sports betting, especially large spread. I think 10 or more. The dude covers like 85% of the time. So that's a trend I always look for. Titans in a 10 or more underdog. Generally, Mike Vrabel coaches well, keeps his game competitive, and absolutely did. Titans 17, Chiefs 20. Just 2 games that we're not going to go fully in depth for, but the Bears 32, Dolphins 35. On Preview Thursday, we gave out the Bears plus 4 or 5 or 6, whatever the hell it was, because we were also talking about the Bradley Chubb trade to the Dolphins. So that we said the Bears is our lean, but I officially did not take them because I was unsure of the Bradley Chubb effectiveness. The only thing Bradley Chubb did was make Justin Fields scramble out of the pocket and ultimately breaking a season single game rushing yard record by a quarterback. He had like 178 or 187, whatever that number is. So Justin Fields breaks a QB rushing record in the regular season. And the Jets beat the Bills. Wow. Bills spread got hammered by the public. They thought the Bills were absolutely going to manhandle the Jets. Josh Allen, he had a rough game, but this Jets defense, they're good. they're being coached by a defensive head coach, Sal, who, for those of you who didn't know, came over from the 49ers, defensive coordinator. The guy is just there to, he's old school, win by the defense, limit the turnovers from your quarterback. And that's what they did. They picked up Sauce Gardner. The dude is the real deal. He had that late game interception, ultimately led which I believe the Jets went down and scored a touchdown off of that from Michael Carter. I didn't fully watch that game because there were so many games going on at 1 p.m. What is the NFL doing with scheduling? There was 2 4 o'clock window games, and the rest of them were 1 o'clock. Glad NFL Red Zone's a thing because it was hard. It was hard keeping up with everything. But yeah, Bills go down to the Jets. I'll tell you what, if anybody had Bills Survivor left in their pool, wow, that's a tough one. But let's take a look at the Monday Night Football game. Ravens traveling to New Orleans. New Orleans Saints are 1.5 point home underdogs. So Ravens are laying 1.5 points, and the total for the game is 46.5. Just off rip, I looked at Isaiah Likely's receiving yard total for this game, and it's at 40.5. There's no Mark Andrews. I keep seeing conflicted things where like Mark Andrews is out, Mark Andrews is doubtful. I'm going to take it as Mark Andrews is not playing in this game. Okay. If Mark Andrews is not playing, if we get a definitive Mark Andrews is not playing, then I will absolutely be playing Isaiah Likely over 40.5 receiving yards. Tight end is a huge part for not only this offense, for Lamar Jackson. This team lost Rashad Bateman, which is huge. So it's going to be a consistent dose of Isaiah Likely, the running game, and Duvernay. Josh Oliver, he might also be a good take a look at, potentially first touchdown. If his first touchdown is over like 3,000 odds, I'll sprinkle a couple dollars on that. But we're also going to look at Lamar Jackson over 60.5 rushing yards. He's been rushing the ball a lot. I think he's hit this like 3 of his last 4 games. Not 100% sure on that, but I think it's like 2 of his last 3 or 3 of his last 4, whatever it is. So that number does seem a little low, lacking playmakers. So he might have to get out the pocket a little bit more design running plays. Um, this, dude, when I look at this game, I know primetime unders have been a thing, but I really think for some reason this game goes over. Um, you have the Ravens secondary who has been abysmal in the second half of football games, and you have the Saints defense who they're not good. They're not good. I know they just shut out the Raiders last week, but they've been giving up almost 30 plus points to every single person they've played. They have literally been putting up points but losing because their defense can't keep up with their offense. The Saints are scoring points, but they're not playing defense. And the Ravens, they're scoring points, they're getting out ahead, but in the second half they're almost collapsing. When I first looked at this total, I was eyeing the over. But the public is all over the under, and I am confused how it's so lopsided. As of right now, 71% of the bets are on the under. What? You're telling me two pretty solid offensive teams, both playing shitty defense, and we're just gonna smack the under? I could be completely wrong, but give me a break. You're telling me if you pick a side in this game, you're gonna take the under? Absolutely not. So I'm gonna roll with the Ravens to win and cover. They're just the better team. Although they're missing playmakers, Mark Andrews and Bateman, we're getting a discount on this number. We really know this number should be like 3.5, 4.5. Mark Andrews obviously is a huge piece of this offense, but Isaiah Likely is good. He is really good. When he got drafted and you were watching this guy in preseason, everybody was like, holy shit. They could run 2 tight end sets if they want to, regardless, because this guy is, he's not as good as Mark Andrews, but a little bit faster. Probably just as even in the strength category, and he's a solid blocker. He fits perfectly in this offense. So Ravens -1.5. I also like the over, so take your pick there. And then we're gonna roll with Isaiah Likely over 40.5 receiving. We're gonna roll with Lamar Jackson over 60.5 rushing. I truly think this hits because I think there's some points in this game. Ravens win. I believe they cover. I think this game goes over. I like Isaiah Likely, like Lamar. Probably will sprinkle Isaiah Likely first touchdown. You got to. I think I'll also sprinkle Josh Oliver, the backup tight end for the Ravens. You figure Isaiah Likely was getting some playing time being the backup. So basically, he's just going to move up to Mark Andrews' role. Josh Oliver is going to move up to Isaiah Likely role. And, if they run 2 tight end goal line sets, we've got a solid option to get some value. I think last time I saw, Josh Oliver was like plus 3,000 to score the first touchdown. Throw a couple dollars on there. It's basically a lotto ticket. If he hits, you're Bezos. If he doesn't, oh well. But yeah, another solid week on the podcast, man. We're going to get right back to this on Thursday. Preview Thursday with Dynel. We're going to break down every single game, give our early leans. But we don't make our official picks till Saturday, as usual. So if you enjoyed the podcast, do us a huge favor. Leave us a comment and rate. We are almost on every single potential platform to listen to a podcast. I'm sure there's a few odds and ends out there. Thank you so much for everybody for the feedback. We're doing our best with, trying to level out the microphone volume. So you can follow us on Twitter at @ShredTheSpread_. You can also follow us on TikTok for, a little bit of entertainment on there at @ShredTheSpread. As usual, if you enjoyed the podcast, be a friend, tell a friend. If you didn't enjoy, we'll just act like this never happened. So this has been Recap Monday, episode 13. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys with Dynel on Thursday. Thanks for listening.